So firstly, thank you once again, Helen, for the kind introduction. It's an absolute honour to be here during Carers Week, but absolutely doing an amazing thing, celebrating caring, celebrating the incredible people who live in our communities. And as a son who cared for his mum, I'm ever so proud to be here, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about the amazing people who make our communities what they are. We are the heart of our communities, and communities are in our hearts. And the longer we keep that together, the better. Unfortunately, some of you might have heard me speaking today, and I'm going to have to listen again for the next little while to a kind of longer version. And I might have to repeat some of the things that I said this morning, but they feel important to me, and I hope they're important to you. Back in Scotland, I work on a little project called Dementia Carer Voices. And it's got a small piece of funding by the Scottish Government, and from January this year by the Chief Nursing Officer in Scotland. So I report on the stories that I collect twice a year, twice to the Cabinet Secretary for Health, and from this year, twice a year to the Chief Nursing Officer in Scotland. And as it's Carer Weeks, actually a little announcement, from next week, I'll be working directly with Jane Cummings, the Chief Nursing Officer in England, to report directly to her to what people tell us on the tour. So I'm really honoured to be these stories that people share, that we take them to people that need to listen to them. But this project is based on to harness the work of a campaign that I started from my bedroom when I was caring for my mum. So I'm not going to speak about the ins and outs of the project. In fact, I never do. I'm going to speak about how we get to that point. I also know in a room full of people who are dedicating their lives to caring for others, unpaid or professionally, who got up yesterday to care for someone, get back up again today, and against the greatest of odds, sometimes they will get back up and do it all again tomorrow. That 1 in 3 of us, at some point in our lifetime, will have a family member, a neighbour, or a friend who is living with dementia or has lived with dementia. So if anyone's uncomfortable with anything that I say in the next half hour and needs a wee bit of time to reflect, that's absolutely okay. I find it really difficult to listen to anyone else speaking about their mum or their dad, because I immediately think about my own mum. And quite often at events, I have to go and have a wee bit of time, but we're surrounded by the great kindness that I've felt for the incredible team here, from Helen and all the team that have made me feel cared for and welcomed and safe, and have lifted my spirits. So we're surrounded by good friends and colleagues, and I'll be around until the 5 o'clock train tonight, because it's the last one back to Glasgow, if anybody wants to have a personal chat. But it feels really important to me in Carers Week and an event such as this to be able to speak openly and honestly as a son. And I really hope it's important to you. So my name's Tommy Whitelaw, and I was a full-time carer for my kind and beautiful and magnificent mum, Joan. My mum passed away on the 22nd of September 2012, and my mum had vascular dementia. And I cared for my mum at home from 2007 until my mum passed away. I went back to Glasgow to visit my mum in 2007, not because of dementia or to become a carer. I had no clue what dementia was, and I certainly never knew who or what a carer was. I was actually going home for my own reasons. For the 25 years previous to that, I worked in the music industry, and I travelled pretty much 10, 11, sometimes 12 months of the year. And I was getting burnt out and disillusioned and making far too many mistakes. And they were just some of the reasons I was going back to Glasgow to visit my mum. The other reason, I think, is the same reason that most sons or daughters go back to their mum or dad if they're still there. My relationship had broken down. In amongst being burnt out and disillusioned and making all these mistakes, I'd messed up a relationship. But that's the first place you go to. No matter how young or old you may be, you go home to your mum or dad if they're still there, because they make it better, and they take time to listen, and they help you understand the mistakes you're making, and they help you back onto the path you may have stumbled from. That's what mums and dads do. And that's what I was doing in 2007, going back for my mum to do what she'd done so many times throughout my life. She'd put her arms around me, and suddenly life would feel better. But before coming back and from a distance, people had started to get in touch with me and make contact to say they were becoming concerned about my mum, or in their own words, my mum's behaviour. But I just thought maybe my mum's maybe getting a wee bit older. Maybe she doesn't want to go to the places she used to go to. Maybe she doesn't feel like doing the same kind of things that she used to do. But in coming back, things had changed. And they were going to change continually and consistently for the next nearly 6 years. And when I first came back, it was still all about me. I'd made a decision to take a 2 or 3 month break from the job I was doing, go back to Glasgow where I was born, back to the house I grew up in, and be in the same room as someone that I felt loved by. And I thought, while I'm home, I'll find out what people's concerns are about my mum. So as a son, I can put things in place and keep a better eye on my mum, even from a distance, when I return to work. But those 3 months became 6 months, they became 9 months, and then they became a year. And within that year, my mum was diagnosed with vascular dementia. A really lonely diagnosis that set the theme and the standard for much of it lay ahead. With neither of us quite understanding what was happening within, around, and beside us, and both becoming isolated from the lives we both used to know. So people who used to phone my mum, well, they didn't phone her as often. And people who used to pop in for a wee gossip or a chat or a cup of tea, they stopped popping in for a chat and a cup of tea. And there was 2 of us becoming quite lost, lonely, and scared. And that fear that was often a companion in my mum's eyes of all these changes that were happening within, or the environments we might be in, I had no clue that it was fear. I was just as scared beside her. In fact, in trying to get some help one day, someone wrote on their clipboard beside my mum's name as I looked over their shoulder the word challenging. And I think it's a dreadful word to use. I think we have to be careful how we discuss and describe each other. I think language is crucial and critical in everything that we do. If I say to you that that person in that house or that ward or that bed is quite challenging on a forum, before you've met them, you'll probably walk towards them expecting to be challenged. But if I let you know that that person just might be really scared of all the changes that are happening in this new environment they're in, I know that one way or another, you'll go towards that person and find out what is making you scared to do and what can I do to help take that fear away. I think with dementia, we have to change the word from aggressive to distressed. We have to look at the language we use as we describe each other to other people before they've even met them. It's a crucial part of relationships and good care. And one night at the end of that first year when my mum was going to bed, she grabbed my arm really tightly and told me for the first time how scared she felt, and asked me not to leave her. So I tried to make my mum a promise that night. A promise that's made to us by our governments, by our health trusts, by our local authorities, by the communities that we live in. That to be cared for as long as possible in our own homes is the best place to be cared for. Now, if I was married with 3 children, my answer may have been different that night. I can only answer the question my mum asked me, but it was only a year before I'd come back to Glasgow for my mum to put her arms around me. And I didn't want to leave her the first time ever in her life that she asked me to try and put my arms around her. But after the second and the third year, as dementia was doing everything within its power to try and affect my mum's greatness, never to me, never in my eyes, and never once in my heart, but to affect her greatness, to affect her being recognised, conversed with, included, discussed, invited to, taking part in anymore as Joan Whitelaw. Now in situations and circumstances we've been in all through our lives, now hearing people discuss and describe my mum by a condition. Or the wee woman in bed 6 has dementia, or here is, or there is, or that is. But that wee woman had a name and a life and a love story within her. And actually as her son and carer standing right beside her, holding her hand. And becoming isolated from a community that my mum was born in, she grew up in, she went to school in, she got her first job in, she fell in love in, she got married in, and she brought her children up in. There was 2 of us now at the crisis of our lives. In fact, for the last of that third year, I'd wake up most mornings and put the quilt back over my head and just lie in my bed and cry for half an hour. I have no clue what I'm doing. I have no clue how to do it. How do I keep my mum safe? How do we make it through today? But the biggest question was always, how do I keep my mum recognised as Joan Whitelaw first? Everything she has been and everything she still has a chance to be, and never just a person with dementia first again. And I woke up one day and just couldn't do it. Tomorrow felt so far away that we were never going to reach it or touch it or experience it. Now, I don't know if that's because I didn't know how to ask for help or who to ask for help, or the people we were trying to ask for help weren't quite listening. But a culmination of all those things left us feeling helpless and hopeless and alone. And I really didn't know what to do first. And one of the things I started doing was writing a wee blog. And I felt better. At night when my mum went to bed, I'd write about the things that made us smile or made us cry. The things we understood or the things today I still don't understand. The things that made us feel safe or the things that made us scared. And I don't even know if anybody was reading my blog then, but you know what? It really didn't matter. I just felt for the first time I could tell people what it felt like as a son to wake up most mornings feeling stupid and scared and alone. And we wouldn't be judged and we wouldn't be defined. We'd have an opportunity to tell who we were. But I wanted to find out how other people managed. If I could find out how other people managed, I could copy them and I could be a good son or I could be a good carer. But ultimately, I could always get my mum recognised as Joan Whitelaw first and never a condition first again. So on my blog, I made a promise that if I could find a week's respite, I would walk around Scotland for a week. Not to raise money, but to ask people to write and share their experiences with me. And if people would share their experiences with me, I would walk straight to the Scottish Parliament and ask them to read them. So we can share the good stuff. What about this carer centre, this volunteer, this nurse, this hospital, this care home, this doctor, this care assistant, this neighbour. But also ask questions of things that weren't so good. Never as a petition, never as a protest. I took every step as my mother's son. I arranged to meet people at bus stops, train stations, supermarkets, car parks, or front doors, church halls, street corners, anywhere I could get to that week by foot or by bus or by train. And people started writing to me by the hundreds and the hundreds and the hundreds, and now by the thousands and the thousands and the thousands and the thousands. From Scotland, from England, from Wales, from South Africa, from Australia, from North America, from all around the world. And every single letter that I've received to this day is about love. It's about the day two people first meet and they set eyes upon each other and they think, you know what? I'm going to love you for the rest of my life. It's a love for a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, a grandson, a granddaughter, a partner, a friend. All those beautiful and remarkable relationships that every one of us brought with us here today. Because every one of us is beautiful and unique and you're remarkable. And your story should matter to everyone who plays a part in it, no matter how big or small that part may be. Once we open the door to someone's unique and remarkable story, we have a duty to play the very best part that we can. But the word love is outmatched and outnumbered in every letter by the word loneliness. The word loneliness appears throughout each letter more than any other word. The words isolation appear throughout and the words understanding. I don't understand what's happening to me, or we don't understand what's happening to us, or really good people with good intentions, but they don't seem to understand who we are and who we still want to be. That part of my campaign, which is still ongoing, is called Letters, Life and Love Stories. And normally at this point, I would show you a very short film about it. It's one of 18 little films and podcasts that I've made. They're all up in my blog. And you'd get to meet some of the incredible families reading from their stories. It's a tough film to watch, but it's about love. You might not agree with every word in it, but it's absolutely about love. It's about love and relationships and people. But my campaign for last year and this year is called You Can Make a Difference. I'm doing 632 talks around the UK in 3 years. This morning was talk 581, and this one is talk 582. I'm doing a talk in a different hospital, university, college, hospital, care home, community centre, anywhere that Helen and the team are kind enough to invite me, help me with my train fare, give me a wee sandwich and help me get back up the road again. And I'm asking everybody I meet, is there just one little thing that you can do in your workplace, your community, or your family that will make a difference to the people you work beside, you live beside, you're sitting in this room beside, and you do the most beautiful thing of all, you get up every day to care beside. Because it's people that change lives. It's people that make a difference. Over above policies and strategies and these PowerPoint shows, it's not them, it's people that make a difference. It's people that make it the most beautiful letter to read. I'm so glad you met that nurse today, that care assistant. I'm so glad it's that carer centre, that volunteer, that care home, that hospice, that neighbour, that friend. It's also people that make them very difficult letters to read. Sometimes I read the letters and think, if I could take the person from this letter, just transfer them into this letter over here, what a different story it might turn out to be. And no matter what your role is, and no matter what you do across this area, you have the potential and the opportunity to transform the lives and the experiences of the people that you live beside, you work beside, and you care beside. What a beautiful part to play. What an incredible, noble, and brave, and beautiful, and courageous part to play. To be that unpaid carer, to be that nurse, to be that volunteer, to work in Cambridgeshire's Carer Centre, wherever those roles may be. But that gift that I felt completely wrapped out for since my very first phone call with Helen and Annette until the day I got here, I think becomes the most beautiful gift of all when you share it with others. When you share it with the people you work beside, you care beside, and you're sitting beside. When you share your gift with our mums, our dads, our brothers, and our sisters. When you share our gift with the people who often need it the most. And it's called You Can Make a Difference Because of People. And I'm going to try and tell you very quickly about one. But there's a really interesting line in this little slide up here. It says, I'm here because I trust you. Please help me stay confident. I would like everybody who's a nurse or a care assistant to take that line home with them today and to have a reflection on, is everybody that I've met in that hospital, have they been as confident when they walked out that door? Or have I taken their confidence away? It's a really important line. I am here because I trust you. Please help me stay confident. And I'd like people to think about that. And that was the same in caring for my mum. It was always people. It's people when my mum was in hospital. As that nurse walked away from my mum's bedside, I'd sit there thinking, do you know what? I'm so glad you took the time to speak to us today. I'm not as scared as I was before I knew you. It was people as lonely as we felt at home. I'd watch people walking down the path and think, do you know what? I'm so glad you were in our house today. You've shown us a way to get through today, and that will help us make it through tomorrow. But it was also just sometimes when my mum was in hospital, I would sit quietly thinking, I hope it's your day off tomorrow. Not quite sure how that conversation went. It was just sometimes when we needed more help at home, I'd watch by the window and watch people leave and sit and think, I honestly hope you never knock on my mum's door again. Because my mum, if she knocked at your door, she'd be more kind, more respectful, and she'd have wrapped you up with every bit of knowledge and care that she possessed. I came back in 2007 for my mum to put her arms around me. And within 5.5 years, my mum was unable to walk, unable to talk, unable to swallow, unable to recognize her son holding her hand, the house we were living in, or the life that was passing daily by our front door. And every time those changes happened, it left us on our knees. As a family, just as we found a way or a routine of getting through each day, we'd wake up and dementia had changed everything. Things we could do and achieve the day before, we'd wake up and could no longer do them. And we'd have to start from here. And I think sometimes we get so caught up with our jobs and work and life that we forget that the little things are really the big things to people. I think the little things are the biggest things. We've all made little decisions here today. Firstly, we've decided whether to come along or not. We've decided whether to come by car or bus or train or walk. We've even decided where we'd like to sit and what clothes we'd like to wear today. But when people start making decisions about you and not with you, it can leave you feeling helpless and lost. And they are massive. And I got up one morning to give my hard-working, dignified mum her breakfast and medication, and my mum had had an accident in her bed. And I really didn't know what to do. Before that, we stumbled through it. When my mum needed more help and support, I would help her every day. When she needed a bath or needed to go to the bathroom, but I'd always do it with my eyes closed tightly, so that I would never see anything my mum would not like me to see. I wanted to protect her dignity, her rights. And these are a couple of questions I'm here to plead with you as a son to keep in your heart for the people you work beside, or you care beside, or you volunteer beside. How do you feel about me doing that for you? Are you okay with me doing that to you? If we just do things because at that moment they only matter to us, we might just have failed the person we should actually be doing it with. And the only thing I could think of doing that day was if I got the bath and I used a whole bottle of bubble bath, I'd be able to get my mum washed and beautiful and I wouldn't see any of the parts I was touching. And I got her favourite shampoo that day because I wanted my mum's hair to smell beautiful. And I knew that if my mum could, she'd have picked up her favourite shampoo to be the very best that she could. When I first came back to visit my mum, we used to go to the shops together on a Saturday, and my mum would be throwing all these things in the basket. Same bread, same cheese, same deodorant, same nail varnish, same milk. She'd been putting them in there for 30 years. When my mum could no longer go to the shops and my neighbour used to sit while I went along, I made sure I put all those things in that basket every Saturday. So my mum was surrounded by the things that she liked, not the things that I liked. They're two completely different things. And I really didn't know what to do, and I got my mum out in her nice pyjamas on and sat down in her sitting room in despair. Out of the good and the bad days, this was a dreadful day. Am I hurting my mum? Am I doing the right thing? If my mum could still speak, what would she say to me about what just happened there? How would she feel about that? And I phoned up that afternoon to try and get an incontinence nurse. But I was told it's June, and 2 are off sick, and 2 are on holiday, and you're not the only person who needs help today. And how do we fit the word dignity into a conversation with a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter when these things suddenly knock on our door? After weeks of waiting, I eventually phoned the GP and told him of our predicament. He said he would get a district nurse to come out on the Thursday. And I knew she was coming, and I thought, I'll get my mum in the bath at 12:30. I want my mum to be beautiful when that nurse walks in this door. I want my mum to meet this nurse at her very best. But I also wanted, when that district nurse leaned over to undress my mum to examine her, that she would smell my mum's shampoo, and she would smell her beautiful hair. And she would think, every time I meet you, Joan, your hair must smell beautiful. And every time before I walk away from your bedside, your hair must smell beautiful. I wanted to set a standard with the right help and encouragement we could achieve for the last few months of my mum's life. And while I was bathing my mum, the door went. It was the district nurse. She'd arrived about 20 minutes early. And I shouted downstairs, I'm holding my mum in the bath, can you just come up? And as I heard her walking up the stairs, I burst out crying louder than I've ever cried. I wanted to know how stupid I felt and lost and alone. And she came walking in our bathroom and at first never said a word. She just took a wee look at the two of us. She then put her arms around my shoulders and whispered in my ear that she thought I was doing a great job of caring for my mum. And I felt better the second she said it. I thought, maybe I can do this, Mum, and maybe we'll get through this. She then knelt down very quietly and she introduced herself to my mum. And she showed me how to lift my mum. She showed me how to wash my mum. And she showed me how to dry my mum like a lady. Because I'm sure my mum always dried herself like a lady when she was able to do it for herself. She then said, I'm going to put this in place and that in place. And I'm going to organise this bed. I'm going to do all these things. And 45 minutes later, as she was halfway down her stairs to leave, she said the most beautiful sentence I've ever heard in my life. She says, do you know what, Joan and Thomas? I'm going to come here every Friday morning at 10 o'clock just to make sure the two of you are okay. The most beautiful sentence I've ever heard. And that's why I'm doing this tour, and it's called You Can Make a Difference. As she came walking up our stairs that day, we were stumbling and hurtling and felt we had nowhere to go. And 45 minutes later, as she walked back down and we were back on a path, we had somewhere to go, and someone was going to help us along the way. Now, if I saw that district nurse today, I'd run across the street and I'd shake her by the hand and tell her, thank you for doing that for my mum. And if I saw her again tomorrow, I'd cross the street again and I'd shake her hand again and tell her, thank you for doing that for us. And I hope that's who you are. I hope no matter what your role is and no matter what you do, you are that district nurse. I hope it's who you were yesterday. I hope it's who you are today, and I hope it's who you are tomorrow. Because the biggest difference to and for the people that we will all care for comes from the unique and remarkable people sitting in the seats in this room today. This is a room full of people who can make a difference every day, every person, every time. What an incredible reason to get up every day and make a difference to people who may need your help. And I thank you, each and every one. In fact, we might not always say thank you. You might walk away from our bedsides or out our front doors or even off the phone and we've forgotten to say thank you. But when you do those little things that are really massive to the people that you do them with, we will never ever forget you. So I'm going to try my best today as a son to say thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you to every single unpaid carer, every carer in this room. Thank you to every nurse, volunteer, administrator, finance team, manager, leader. Thank you for dedicating your lives to caring for people yesterday. Thank you for doing it again today. And this son thinks you're remarkable and brave and beautiful and incredible, but most of all kind, for getting back up and doing it all again tomorrow. I celebrate you, I salute you, and I thank you from my heart. I'm going to speak very briefly in my last wee bit about our Make a Difference campaign. This is talk 582, and we've just reached over 80,000 people in person. And as of yesterday, we've just launched today, just over 14,000 hospitals, universities, colleges, care homes and hospices have pledge trees hanging up. And you can go onto my blog and read every single one of them. I'll tell you very quickly, and this is about supporting people in their role, asking them a key question. What will you do as a nurse or a doctor every day to make a difference for carers and people living with dementia? Up the top corner is Morecambe Bay Hospital. 604 staff have made a pledge. And just before Christmas, we used all those pledges as a report to the board of how they tied them into nutrition, hydration, admission, all these different things. Up in the top corner there is 9 care homes across Fife. And in the heart, in the middle, outside everybody's room, is a wee photo of them. And we used paint. And that's in the handprints around the heart is all the handprints of the person who lives in that care home. And on each of those hands is a wee story about them. And in the handprints around that is the story of different family members. And in the handprints around that is the story of the people who work in that care home. Because our residents don't live in our workplace, we work in their homes. This is care at home teams who do care at home and do these 3-minute, 15-minute visits that we have to change dramatically, and we have to change them this week and tomorrow. We have to make it a job that people aspire to do, they're respected for doing, and they're paid for doing. I don't know how you can have a conversation in 15 minutes with somebody and find out who they are. And I went to do these talks because one of the nurses wrote to me to tell me how lonely and isolated and undervalued she felt. And we brought in the local school and the local art teacher to each of the places. And we painted these big 6-foot What Matters to You trees in the staff rooms. And the school kids cut out all these wee flowers at the top. And the first time that someone does a home visit to someone, they hand them a flower. And they write their name in the middle of it, and they ask them to write something that matters to them on each of the petals. Then they bring the flower back and they hang it up on the What Matters to You tree. And before anyone's allowed to do a home visit to that person, they have to go to the What Matters to You tree and learn 10 things about that person. So they never knock the door feeling like a stranger, and you never open the door feeling like a stranger who's at your door. Really interestingly, they've had the best staff retention there this year than they've had in the last 6 years. Because in the staff room, the staff have painted their own What Matters to You tree. And the chief executive goes down every 2 months and he reads what matters to the staffs. And they feel valued, supported, celebrated, encouraged, and respected for the incredible job they do. The best staff retention by asking a simple question to the staff: what matters to you? I said before as well, it's all underpinned by these 5 key must-do with me steps. I get quite confused by NHS Scotland and NHS England. They're calling care something on a Monday. By the time you get to the Friday, they've got a new name for it. And I think you were calling it something else on Monday. I'm not quite sure what you mean. We've got Bob's this, Jimmy's that. I can't keep up with it. I think care's the reason that everybody's sitting in the seats in this room today. It matters to you, and people matter to you. So this is our 5 must-do with me steps. We're asking people to have conversations with their colleagues and absolutely with people that they supply or support care with. What matters to you and who matters to you? What kind of information do you need? Nothing about me without me. And be flexible in our conversations, our relationships, and absolutely the kind of services that we supply. It's all about people and relationships. And that's about changing conversations. Try thinking about the kind of conversations you have with people. Should you maybe be changing some of them? We're asking people to flip some of them. Instead of always asking what's the matter with you, we're asking people to ask what matters to you. Instead of always asking what's the matter with you, we're asking people to ask who matters to you. We think what matters to you and who matters to you are the foundations for great conversations and great care. And it's underpinned by these 3 principles. Take the time to ask what matters, take the time to listen to what matters, and take the time to do what matters. Once you've asked, once you've really listened, you have an opportunity to do. We're publishing on the 28th of June a report on 14,000 pledges. I'm going to publish a report on what 14,000 people told us around the country that they'll get up every day to make a difference for people living with dementia and their carers. I'll also be publishing what 14,000 people told us stops them doing that every day. And you can guess some of the answers, can't you? Staffing. My manager comes up a lot. Time, the environment. But that will be published and reported to the Chief Nursing Officer of Scotland and England on the 28th of June this month. So I would encourage you to maybe have a wee look at it, because it's a really important story. It's 14,000 people who made a decision to dedicate their lives and their careers to caring for other people. It's their story in their own words. And it's 14,000 things that get in the way of that every day that don't allow them to be that nurse, to be that volunteer, to be that doctor or that neighbour. If we can take away those bits there, we allow the beautiful bit to happen. I'm not meant to be speaking about this next week, but Jen Kenward's in the room, so I'm going to mention it quickly. Hopefully she gives me a good report back. But as of next week, I'll be taking a key message on my tour from Jane Cummings, the Chief Nursing Officer in England, to all my talks in hospitals about the framework, the leading change, adding value, a framework for nursing, midwifery and care staff. And I was really proud to launch it with Jane at the RCN headquarters across the world on the live web. But we'll be, from next week, every talk I do in a hospital to a nursing student will include a 20-minute session from Jane Cummins, who's now partnering us up in this pledge work that we're doing. And I've got one critical question to her. What are you going to do to allow the beautiful bit to happen? That's the main question I've got. So I'm really proud that we'll be working. But I wasn't meant to be showing that today, but that's another story. But I just saw Jen in the room and I thought I'll mention it while Jen's here. It's been an absolute honour to spend today with you. The beautiful bit and the really important bit about today is just to happen. It's to celebrate the remarkable people who work and live and care across this area. I think you're incredible. I know one of the incredible people who's been nominated. I'm not going to mention her name just now, just in case I put some favouritism, but I've spoke with her and I've watched the passion and care that she did at Hinchinbrook Hospital, Angela, and it was magnificent, and I'm proud to know you. So I've met some of the people who have been in these awards today, and if you don't celebrate, you who will? Don't buy all those newspapers. Don't buy them. Read those headlines. They tell you a completely different story. They don't tell you the story of what is beautiful and remarkable about this room we are sitting in today. This is a room full of people and kindness and achievement and care and brilliance, and I thank you for that. So I'm going to leave you as I did today with a wee story about my mum. I wouldn't like anybody to think that I travelled the whole way down from Glasgow to speak about my mum being incontinent or dementia, because I never ever came here to speak about dementia. I always came here to speak about my mum, and my mum's name was Joan, because dementia does not define my mum. My mum was more sparkling and beautiful and caring and knowledgeable and interesting and brilliant than dementia could ever stop her being. It's just that too many people stopped seeing my mum and all they saw was the dementia. And they missed out the opportunity to get to know someone who had a story to tell and a life to live and opportunities ahead. So I'm going to leave you with a wee short story about my mum today, in the hope if you ever think about me speaking here today, you think there was a big guy in from Glasgow talking about his mum Joan. Because that's the important bit, isn't it? It's who we are, how we live, and the story we have to tell. So my mum's name was Joan Whitelaw. She was born on the 15th of July, 1939. Both my mum's parents died at different times when she was quite young. And my mum's big sister, who was a wee bit older, quite a bit older, who went on to have 8 children of her own, she took my mum in and cared for her. She put her arms around her and told her 3 things. I will care for you, I will protect you, and when you're scared, I will hold your hand. And if anybody ever asks me what does caring sound like, I think that's what it sounds like. I'll be there for you, and when you're scared, I will hold your hand. And that was the building blocks that made my mum the truly remarkable lady. I was really lucky to be her son, because my mum couldn't stop caring for and about everyone she met. She knew how much it mattered. My mum knew what it felt like to be young and vulnerable and feeling alone, and how good it felt when one person said, but you are not alone today, I'm right by your side, and I'm going to help you. And that was the building blocks that made my mum a remarkable lady. And then my mum went out and she started and she finished school. And my mum's first job when she left school was a trainee seamstress. And in the wee film I sometimes show during my talk, you see my mum and I out in the garden bringing the washing in. But you also see us looking at this photo of my mum and dad on their wedding day. And my mum and dad had no money the day they get married. And my mum found that white material somewhere and she made that wedding dress and she made that veil with her own hands. And I think she looked beautiful. And I think that's part of my mum's love story. I fell in love one day and I had no money, but I made my own wedding dress and I looked lovely. And my mum met my dad, her only ever boyfriend, his only ever girlfriend. And that's a beautiful love story. The day any 2 people you meet and you fall in love for the rest of your lives. And my mum and dad gave their children everything and took nothing for themselves. And this will be a room full of love stories like that. That's what your mums and dads done for you. And that's what you're going to do for your children. You'll give them the things that are out of reach for yourself. And after my dad passed away, I sat in my mum's house thinking, Mum, I think you're going to die of a broken heart. You just miss him that much. And this will be a room full of love stories like that. That we've had people in our lives that matter so much. It hurts our hearts every time we think about them after they're gone. But that's why you matter. The person beside you matters. The person behind you matters. The person in front of you matters. And the people that we care for matters. Because essentially good care is about how we value and matter to each other. And for me as a son, I've still got a question. What would have been crueler? To die of a broken heart that day or not be allowed to remember the man your heart was broken for? And for this son, that's crueler every single day. But that's where my mum's love story ends. That's when I came back in 2007 and I couldn't keep it going. I was unable to care for my mum the way she seemed to be able to care for me anytime I needed her. It just felt too hard. It felt too hard on most of the days, and we sat feeling alone during most of the nights. But it's also a short description of my mum's life. Everybody in this room now knows a wee bit about Joan Whitelaw. But everybody in this room now knows more about my mum than most of the people involved in her care or who made a decision about her care in the last 5 years of her life. Because no one took the time to ask. No one took the time to find out what matters to you, Joan, and who matters to you. Nobody really took the time to find out who my mum was, who she had been, and who she still wanted to be. And if we go home at night having absolutely no clue about the people we cared for that day, or we made a decision about the care for that day, can we really put our dinner on that night and say we cared for them? This son is not convinced that you can. But if you take time to find out what matters to you and who matters to you, what can I do today to make you feel safe or stop you from being scared or make you smile or stop you from being sad, then we are that district nurse. But more importantly, I think we're part of the greatest story of all. We've just played our part in someone's love story. And every single one of us, sometimes even on a good day, needs some help to keep our love stories going. So I thank you to Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Carer Centre. I thank you to each and every one of you for the remarkable work that you do. I thank you for doing it yesterday. I thank every unpaid carer in this room. I thank every carer. I thank every nurse, every doctor, every care assistant, every person who's dedicated their lives to caring for people. I thank you for doing it yesterday. I thank you for doing it today. And I think you're amazing for doing it again tomorrow. But I just ask you today as a son, find out what and who truly matters to the people that you care for. If you do, there's a chance it could change your life. But I think if you do, it will give us the knowledge, the tools, and the information to truly change the lives of the people we work beside, we're sitting beside, we live beside, and you do the most noble and beautiful thing of all. You have dedicated your life to caring beside. Thank you from my heart.